All righty, welcome in a Wednesday edition of the Chico Bormann Show here on the Big Play Sports Network. It is great to have you along, and of course, streaming live as we do each and every day, Monday through Friday from 11 to 1. You can do so on Twitter at Chico Show CLE, also on YouTube, the Chico Bormann Show. If you are not subscribed already, hit that subscribe button. You will be all set and ready to go. And of course, also wherever you get your podcasts, you can download, listen later, whenever you get an opportunity. It's very, very convenient. Speaking of convenience, Bohm, there is going to be a time, we were talking a little bit about this yesterday, there is going to be a time when this place is going to be, and it's coming very, very soon. We have, as we like to say, Bohm, we have boots on the ground right now to make this a very, very special game day Sunday, or when it's Thursday or Monday, those two. But we've got guys and gals working their tails off to they're splitting wires, things that I know nothing about. We've got our buddy here in studio. He's like our first studio audience, guest, if you will. So he's just sitting Indian style on the floor. We don't want to pamper him too much with a nice recliner, so we got him Indian style on the floor. But we might feed him a little bit later. Who knows?
Crisscross applesauce.
There you go. That's exactly what we're going to do. But anyway, we've got as we mentioned yesterday, it is really exciting. We are counting down not only to the beginning of the season, but the football season, but for us as Big Play here at Big Play, we're going to be your game day headquarters here at Burke Lakefront Airport. You may have heard there's a lot of room up here. Well, let's just say we're going to be making good use of the space, and it's going to be an awesome, awesome game day adventure. So, full disclosure, we do have some folks working as we're working, and if something happens, something happens. Who cares? We'll figure it out. But for now, we're going to call them our in-studio guest, first ever. There could be a consolation prize for that at some point down the road, but I can't comment on that because I don't have any, quite frankly, I don't have any authority to do that. All right, 216-626-7901. Again, 216-626-7901. I am Mike Chico Bormann. Michael Bohm is here. Bohm, was there a big surprise for you? I know I've got my big surprise from the 53 that came down at 4 yesterday. Anything, and if nothing jumps out, that's fine too.
No, I mean, from the Ohio State perspective, it's a bummer to see Togiai let go.
Yeah, but your boy Ronnie Hickman,
rocket.
I honestly, I was kind of. I was surprised, and we talked about this before we left the air yesterday. I thought D'Anthony Bell might get the nod over him because of special teams play, but I love that. And you know what that tells you? That tells you Jim Schwartz, because my guess is when it comes down to what Ronnie Hickman brings to the table in totality and what D'Anthony Bell, along with a little more experience, you could easily make the case for Bell. But that tells you a guy. You think training camp, and I know the starters aren't playing, and you don't see much of it. This is where guys make teams and have their dreams realized. And Ronnie Hickman, yes, he played at Ohio State, and yes, that's a premier program, but he had an uphill climb, and he made use of every single day of training camp. Good for him. He makes the squad on defense for Jim Schwartz.
And by every account that we've seen, Chico, this guy is a ball hawk. I mean, 3 INTs in the preseason.
Yep.
He's been all over the field. We've seen him finishing plays, tackling. I think there's a lot of excitement or a lot of encouraging signs that we've seen out of Ronnie that, who knows, maybe he could even have a small impact this season.
Yeah, I think, speaking of guys that could have an impact this season in terms of young guys, Cedric Tillman could end up being a guy that, I'm not saying monster season or anything. I think he's absolutely going to be in their future and big time in their future, but he could be a guy that sees a lot more playing time maybe than we thought initially when after the draft came and went in April. I would say the biggest, and we want to hear from you, 216-626-7901, also on Twitter at Chico Show CLE, and on YouTube. You can chime in as well. I did not see Demetric Felton getting waived. That one surprised me. Now, what also happened yesterday, and I made a big deal about Jerome Ford hasn't practiced in 4 weeks. Guess who practiced yesterday? So we start connecting a few dots, as we are so good at doing here. That's why they pay you the big bucks, Bohm. We connect the big dots. And, Jerome Ford, now, I don't know what that means. They were very, very careful. Bohm, are you okay? You just looked at your arm and then you smiled. What's going on?
I just realized I'm wearing my shirt inside out.
Would you like to take care of that, Bohm?
Not on camera. I don't know. At this point, though, I've dirtied the inside, and I don't know if I want to turn it inside out. I might just tough it out for the show.
You just now see this guy's in here, our first ever studio audience, and he's in here going, "Wow." So
He's getting the full dog and pony show.
What was it like on the Chico Bormann show today? Oh, it was something. I know in the first 5 minutes, the producer announced that he had his shirt on backwards, and Chico asked him if he wanted to change that right away, but he opted not to. Oh, that sounds pretty damn interesting.
I mean, if I've already been wearing it inside out, I feel like I got to tough it out.
Yeah.
I don't want to turn it outside in.
I think there should be some sort of outside in. I'm the one, it's my fault because I'm the one that asked you. I thought something fell because, again, there's a lot of work being done. So I thought maybe you caught some shrapnel from the ceiling or something. They've been wires and up in the ceiling tiles and sound system and everything. So I thought maybe you caught a little shrapnel and you were looking at your arm and smiling. I had no idea that it would be you didn't know how to get dressed this morning. I mean, Bohm, there's certain things that I just take for granted that you're going to be able to do on a daily basis. Produce the show, get dressed, all that stuff.
At least I'm wearing a shirt.
That's true. Now, I've often said if I looked like Myles Garrett, I wouldn't. I really wouldn't. I'd just go to the grocery store. Sir, you need to put on.
Why not?
You need to put on a shirt. No, and then they're not going to tell him to leave because it's Myles Garrett. You know what I mean? You look like that. All the Kenny Chesney, no shirt, no shoes, no shirt, that all goes out the window. But unfortunately, Bohm, and I know this is going to come as a shock to our audience, you and I do not resemble Myles Garrett as far as physique, and we'll be keeping our shirts on, and everybody's more excited about that anyway.
Yes,
all right,
certainly.
So getting back to what I was talking about before, I shouldn't say you interrupted me. I interrupted myself with the question. Demetric Felton getting waived, I did not see. That was a shock. We talked about the running back room yesterday quite a bit, and I said, yeah, it's an area that I don't know how to take it outside of Nick Chubb, who's obviously incredible. Jerome Ford, he hasn't practiced in 4 weeks. I still don't know, and we still don't know exactly what his status is. My guess is, just a guess, that they were extra cautious with that hamstring. Again, it's a soft tissue injury, and you never know how those things can linger. But my feeling is maybe they really wanted him to be as close to, if not 100% when he came back. Because if he's not, as we were talking yesterday and have spoke about for the last couple of weeks, all of a sudden now that running back room after Nick Chubb is like, whoa, you traded for Pierre Strong. He obviously made an appearance yesterday, got his physical, and the trade went through and all that good stuff. So he's in that room. Might they still look at a veteran? Possibly. Might they bring back Demetric Felton? Possibly. I did not see Demetric Felton getting waived. And when we talk about the return game, that is still very much up in the air. Jalen Darden got waived. Again, these are guys. I can't emphasize this enough, and I know I said it ad nauseum yesterday, but we got to repeat it again. You will hear, okay, this is the 53 as of 4 o'clock yesterday. This stuff is ever changing, okay? And because certain guys are going to make it through waivers, the Browns are going to say we've got interest in him. The practice squad, theoretically, I believe the rules say from the home office on Park Avenue in New York that you have to have your practice squad by 1 o'clock or 3 o'clock today. That consists of 16 guys. That's going to be ever-changing. So, Jalen Darden could return. He could be your kickoff guy. Right now, I think Donovan Peoples-Jones is probably your punt returner. The other one that I was a little nervous about, I'm still nervous about, is Michael Dunn. Now, this is where when we talk about like the roster settings and it becoming, you almost need a PhD in this stuff to understand and I don't have one, by the way, to understand what you can and can't do as far as manipulating the cap, manipulating the roster, all of that sort of thing. So Michael Dunn is not exposed to waivers, which I thought he would be, but he's an out-and-out free agent. Now, Michael Dunn, as I said, he's not going to knock anyone's socks off. I get that, but he's a very, to me anyway, my opinion, a very valuable piece on the offensive line in terms of a guy that can fill in, a guy that did fill in, and in a big way, way back in the playoff and during the pandemic season against the Steelers. You had, I think it was it Bitonio with with COVID, and then you had Michael Dunn, and Michael Dunn played his rear end off in that game. He's a very valuable guy. But again, when you're trying to get down to 53, and then there's certain guys that have certain designations, the non-football PUP list, the non-injury list, it's so confusing. But I think, to me, the highlights are right now, the Browns in that running back room looks a little thin, but we don't know where Jerome Ford's at. They definitely wanted to have numbers on the defensive line, and they did that. And I think in the secondary, again, keeping Ronnie Hickman. Austin Watkins did not make the team. Now, I don't know if he's going to get claimed or not. Again, we always look at these things and that's all we can do, from a Browns fan or a Browns media, person, whatever, and say, well, he looked damn good. He did lead the entire NFL in preseason yardage. But, everybody's in a numbers crunch. Like, everybody has to get down to 53. So unless there is a chance, how good of a chance, I don't know. There is a chance that Austin Watkins can still come back and be put on the practice squad, but he was kind of the camp sensation, that the hard knocks type guy that everybody falls in love with. You can't cut Austin Watson. You can't cut. And then all of a sudden, that happened.
Chico, I am 99.9% confident that if Austin Watkins were to clear waivers, he's winding up on the Browns practice squad. There's no way that he doesn't sign with the Browns practice squad if he doesn't get claimed on waivers.
Yeah, I would.
If that were an option on Tipico, I'd hammer that bet with every ounce of money that I had.
Boom, I've never seen you so serious about anything in your life. And this is...
I am adamantly confident in such sentiments.
Is this... Thank you, Mr. Wordsmith. Is this one of those where, like, you cross your fingers, or in your case, your shirt's inside out, so whatever you say is BS and it doesn't mean anything?
No, I feel really confident about that, Chico.
Yeah, I do too. I'm going to say I don't think he gets claimed. Again, we have to remember that we're looking at that. He did lead, and general managers know it's not like somebody's going to say, well, I don't know who this guy, they all know who this guy is. They have scouts. There was an article on the Browns about how they kind of go about this. They have scouts that are, divided into, which teams they're going to be looking at as far as which cuts those teams made. And then if it's somebody they think is somebody Andrew Berry might want to take a look at, then they go and they say this is who got cut by Baltimore or Pittsburgh or Cincinnati and so forth. What do you think of the quarterback room? Obviously Deshaun Watson. Are you okay? Like, something tells me they've got a veteran coming. And I know Josh Dobbs was traded, and I know a lot of people were going for DTR to be, the next man up. He will be in time. Right now, if you're telling me that Deshaun Watson goes down in the first couple of weeks and it's riding on DTR, and again, I know he's awesome. I know he looked great. I know he moved the ball. That's still a big ask for a fifth-round rookie at that position. Are they looking across the waiver? Bailey Zappi. We didn't expect to see Bailey Zappi get zapped.
By the way,
the Patriots.
Sidebar, how about that Patriots one-man QB room? You got to wonder how long that'll last.
I think we've all. I wonder, too, that feels more like a but I don't. You never know what's going on these days with Bob Kraft and Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
Like what was once hey, I'm going to be down south visiting certain spas and parlors. I'll leave the football stuff to you guys. Might now be, I want to say or two. I mean, we all know the Tom Brady thing. It didn't end, which I think that's only normal. But Belichick is Belichick, and he's going to do things his way. It feels like to me that Bailey Zappi. I'm not saying a Belichick guy, but certainly surprising that he just out and out said, "See you later." And that's where I wonder, was that a Bob Kraft? I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Zappi really flashed last season when he stepped in for Mac Jones.
Certainly looked pretty good against a Cleveland Browns team.
Yeah.
Very good against a Cleveland Browns team. I don't know. All in all, again, it is still evolving. I wouldn't say there was any, huge surprises in terms of this guy made it, this guy didn't. I was very pleasantly surprised about your boy Hickman. I thought I wanted him to make it, and I do think he's going to be a playmaker. But ultimately, that's you can tell, and I like this. A general manager in these situations, there's going to be certain guys that every coach, and I don't just mean head coach, defensive coordinator, Bubba Ventrone, special teams, heading up special teams, where, okay, you know what, guys? We're down to, I've got about 49, 50. These are guys that I'm thinking about cutting, make a pitch for them. And they'll do that. I mean, who knows if Ronnie Hickman wasn't one of those guys that Jim Schwartz said, look, Andrew, ultimately it's your opinion and it's your decision, but I'm just going to tell you, this kid's got something. This kid has something in terms of, tenacity, in terms of, his feel for the game. And that could be completely BS. But I do think with the Browns organization, it used to be that the word collaboration was just it was BS. Like, Freddie Kitchens would say, oh, we're going to collaborate. Nobody was collaborating. Nobody even talked to each other. They hated each other. So there was no collaboration.
Only internal discord.
Boom. What is it with you in these? Like, you want to I can't figure it out. Like, you want to get into like these different what you consider big words.
That was straight from the mouth of Jimmy Haslam. I'm just direct quoting verbatim.
Jimmy Haslam once said, basically, this is the Three Stooges, right? When it was Joe Banner and Mike Lombardi. And
oh, man.
Now
you got me thinking about that Wickersham article. Oh.
And I'm a Three Stooges fan, too. I was really upset with that. Three Stooges has a lot of comedic value. I don't want that on my football team. But, well, hopefully we're way past that. So, okay, so we've got that. By the way, coming up at noon today, it is a Wednesday, which means we go around Major League Baseball. The former All-Star second baseman Brett Boone will be our guest. I'm curious what he thought. Did you see the highlight or the clip of fans charging to Ronald Acuna in Colorado? Did you see this?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, just jumped the fence and one wanted to get a selfie and the other one, yeah. And I mean, Acuna really played it well, but like, how does that happen? I don't even know how they made it like to the warning track. But and then what were those guys doing? What were the security guys doing? Were they napping?
Was this like when Hank Aaron hit like what was it, 715 or 714, and that fan was running alongside him?
You'll never see that again. Although, like Hank Aaron,
was so casual.
And especially, like, considering the circumstances, there were still a lot of people, oh, Hank Aaron, we don't want him breaking that. Let's just say they're damn lucky that nothing happened that day. But, yeah, Ronald Acuna, two guys, and I don't think they're facing serious charges, but they jumped on the field. Shockingly, they were inebriated. And they tried to get a selfie with Ronald Acuna and then something else, and then finally they were dragged off. But ask Booney about that. We got a lot of teams. His Mariners continue to be on fire. I'm going to ask him too. I know he loves him some Julio Rodriguez, and Julio Rodriguez is an incredible player. I think last week he said he'd take Julio Rodriguez over, I forget who it was. It wasn't Acuna. But I want to ask.
Yeah, that's bold.
I can't do that. Like, and so I'm going to pose that, next 5 years. And he's very objective on this stuff. Like, normally, he played for the Mariners, so he does have it, and that's fine. He's pulling for his Mariners. They came out of nowhere. They were 10 games back, and now they lead the division. Helps that the Rangers have been struggling too. But, like, is Booney willing to go that far with Julio Rodriguez has been unbelievable of late. 4-hit, 5-hit games like it's Little League. And it's not Little League. So we'll talk about all of that with Booney coming up at noon. Guardians, this is, what was it, 2 straight nights? Royce Lewis hit a grand slam off him. It's ugly. It's bad. I got my tickets, by the way, already. September 27th will be, I think, is the last home game for Terry Francona, if in fact he's retiring. Yes, boom, I will be there. So all those people on the internet and all those people on Twitter that you say Terry sucks and Terry's got to be fun, this guy deserves, if he gets nothing less than a standing ovation, he will. I always forget that, like, Twitter only represents, like, a very small population of people out there, usually the morons. But so that's what I'm reading on Twitter is not totally what everybody's saying about Terry Francona, right? Fair? Why are you're smirking again? You're expecting what?
I'm just imagining you like giving him a very stern clapping while you give him the standing O, and then maybe even throwing in a salute.
Well, I wouldn't. Okay, I won't fanboy. I wouldn't fanboy like you or Padone would do. I wouldn't like.
Shout out, fanboy Nick.
Like if it's an Ohio State player, you know how you get kind of emotional, and like even with Bobby Carpenter and Slags, and you're like, "Hi, Bobby. Hi, Slags. You guys were the best ever. I loved you." Like, that's not going to be me. All right, but yeah, I'm gonna. Damn it. You think this is funny. I'm going to stand up and I'm going to be loud and proud for my guy Tito. Now, that doesn't mean he made all the right decisions this year. I mean, everything, it was all the ingredients were there for just an absolute train wreck, and it all happened. I mean, your entire rotation was wiped out due to injury. The front office really, really bombed on guys like Josh Bell and Mike Zunino, and then here we are still trying to figure out for what seems like the 15th consecutive year what to do with all this surplus of middle infielders. But damn it, on that day, I think it's a Wednesday night against the Reds, I think. I will be there, Bohm, and I might even do you one better. If I'm around somebody who is booing Tito in this situation, well, speaking of security, no, I wouldn't do that. Too old and kind of like Lou Brown.
What's your problem, guy? What are we doing here?
Why'd you have to turn it into that accent? Why? Can we get a shot of our guy working hard over here?
I could move my camera to point to him if you want.
You know what? Give him a little. This guy's working hard amidst he's
standby
wires together and trying to get all the audio together. Meanwhile, he's got to listen to you and I while he's doing this, sitting Indian style, as I mentioned. Our first studio guest, and this guy could be scarred for life. This guy could be scarred for life by the time he comes out of here. It's all right, Bohm. If we can, maybe we can do it later. Something tells me he's going to be here a while. He's got a lot of wires in there, and he's got a lot of stuff he's got to do. But we appreciate the fact that they're working hard, and he hasn't thrown anything at us because of, poor execution or anything like that. All right, so Booney coming up at noon. Browns get down to the 53. By the way, the roster will be trickling. Oh, here we go. You know what that looks like? That looks like a weather map, doesn't it? And it looks like that the wires look like Hurricane Idalia, like it's all wrapped up into a circle. And am I totally losing my mind here? Maybe. All right. Well, there's our guy. Say your name, buddy. Go ahead.
My name's Connor.
Connor. Want to welcome Connor into the studio, working hard, getting the audio together. And I don't know, at first glance, that kind of looked like a radar, like not a regular radar screen, like the satellite imagery radar screen for, the hurricanes and stuff like that. All right. Anyway, back to the 53. Things are going to be trickling in throughout the afternoon in terms of practice squad. I want to say it's 4 o'clock. They've got to have that done, but my guess is that changes and will continue to change. But we do have the first iteration of the 53. We'll see how it continues to evolve, the practice squad coming, and then, of course, believe it or not, Bowman, you realize 1 week from tomorrow, we've got football for real. We've got Kansas City, and we've got Detroit for real. No preseason, for real. What about your boy? What about your boy Mahomes? Your boy. For real, Bone. For real.
It's happening, Chico.
It is happening.
We're getting there.
We'll take.
On the precipice.
What did you have this morning? You had to work last night, didn't you?
I did have to work.
Okay, so energy drink this morning because you're
no, maybe just still loopy from sleep deprivation
or other things we won't bring up. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, we got Fair or Foul with Mr. Bombastic, and then coming up at noon, as I said, Brett Boone. More to come as we get you rolling on this Wednesday. It is the Chico Bormann Show right here on the Big Play Sports Network. And welcome back on this Wednesday as we inch closer and closer to noontime. And, of course, closer and closer to NFL rosters, getting down to 53. First one yesterday, practice squad. And, of course, a week from tomorrow, as we said before the break, a week from tomorrow, Thursday Night Football, the reigning Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Detroit Lions. A week from this Sunday, it'll be the Browns. It'll be the Bengals from Cleveland Browns Stadium. It won't be Cade York. It'll be Dustin Hopkins. How much more confidence does Kevin Stefanski have? I have no idea, but we'll find out because it's all going to play out here very, very shortly. Talking baseball with Brett Boone, top of the hour, here on the Chico Bormann Show, streaming live Monday through Friday, 11 to 1 on Twitter, at Chico Show CLE, and on YouTube. It's time right now. What, Bohm? Now what are you laughing about?
My first fair or foul topic.
Oh, boy. All right.
One thing that I love in sports media is actually something that doesn't necessarily come directly from the sports media, but more so, or rather, fans with sauces. Sources.
I'm completely lost right now.
Fans with sources. Because...
Sources. Okay. Yeah. I know you like your New York accent, but just talk for North so I can understand what... It's kind of important that I understand what you're saying if you're going to pose a question to. Sauces. Thinking gravy, ragu. Hey, Paulie. What's the matter with you? Oh. Go ahead.
So this one courtesy of Reddit user Josh_Rosen. And
the former quarterback?
Who knows?
Go ahead.
It's a Reddit user. But claims to have broken the news of Christian McCaffrey to the 49ers before it actually was announced. And then also now is claiming that the 49ers may trade Nick Bosa to an unnamed AFC team because contract talks have fallen apart, Chico. So with that, I want to ask you, because apparently they are very far apart on like any sort of deal whatsoever. Yeah. Mentions how this sort of is a similar situation to DeForest Buckner, where things fall apart in the past with San Francisco, and he wound up being dealt to Indianapolis. So they've been working, quote, reportedly been working on the parameters of a blockbuster trade for several weeks. Fair or foul, you buying that Nick Bosa gets dealt?
Foul. I mean...
You don't like those sauces, huh?
First of all, Josh Rosen, it sounds like you know who I'm talking about, the ex-UCLA quarterback.
Former Brown.
Yeah. He did have a cup of coffee with the Browns for a little bit. I know things are ever changing in San Francisco, and I know right now, what you think is not what you really believe or see in San Francisco with John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. But let's think about this a moment. Now, does Nick Bosa want to get paid? Yes, much the same way that Myles Garrett wanted to get paid and did get paid. He wants to set the market. I mean, basically, it's Myles Garrett, it's T.J. Watt, and it's Nick Bosa. And Nick Bosa, for many, might be the best. He's going to get his money, but can you... No. I mean, your team right now is predicated on defense. And I'm not just saying that because Trey Lance didn't work out and he's gone, but, well, I mean, that is still out there. Brock Purdy is nice, but there's still a lot that he has to prove. And, yes, you have Christian McCaffrey. I don't want to make it sound like San Francisco doesn't have any playmakers on offense when you have guys like Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk, and Deebo Samuel. But their bread is buttered on the defensive side of the ball, and if their bread is buttered on the defensive side of the ball, the guy spreading that is Nick Bosa. They've got some great players, Fred Warner and others, but Nick Bosa is the leader. They're not. They're going to get something done. There's no way. I mean, don't you think here's the other thing. If this was about to go down or was even being whispered about, you don't think you'd hear it elsewhere? This Josh Rosen character. I mean, if it's true, he's going to be ending up at ESPN or somewhere else on a blockbuster deal, breaking news, but I doubt it. So I'm not buying it.
And from San Francisco's perspective, though, I think it's interesting because I could kind of see why maybe they're hesitant to you're probably going to have to make him the highest paid defensive end in the NFL. Like that's just the progression of signing these players, right? But he also has an injury history that it feels like he's missed a lot of games in his NFL career thus far.
Okay, early on he did. What about lately? I gotta admit, this is pretty good, right?
Yeah, I totally lost my train of thought.
That's all right. No, this is good. So he came.
I got distracted.
Connor's buddy came in, and he had to deliver some bolts or something. And and instead of walking them over, you want to get the camera shot, he was just tossing. Good hands. I thought that was good execution right there.
And he claims he's not a sports fan.
He had nice delivery, Connor. Good soft hands and receiving, and the execution was brilliant. You don't think they're going to make him the high? No. When this guy's on the field, I mean, I understand what you're saying, Bone. They're going to look for any excuse, unless Bosa is saying he wants like $35 million a year. I mean, if he wants to be the highest paid defensive end, guess what? This is what they do. You know what I'm saying? Like if Myles Garrett got 25 and T.J. Watt got whatever he wanted. I mean, if 28's the number, if 30's the number, San Francisco is going to give it to him. Now, is it something outrageous? I don't know. I don't know exactly what he's asking for. But again, I'll go back to a player as great as Nick Bosa possibly being traded because they can't come to an agreement with him. Josh Rosen's the only guy on Reddit that's going to be able to break this. Sorry. No disrespect to Josh, but I'm going to call BS on that.
Yeah, Rosen didn't even play for San Francisco. Like, where are you getting these sources, dude? But I digress. So,
you often digress, Bo.
I digress quite a bit. You're not wrong in such sentiments. All right, well, let's commence forth because I saw an interesting, ploy out of ESPN. I want to bounce this off you, Chico. So they are planning on broadcasting ACC football games and New Year's Six bowl games this year at movie theaters as part of a theatrical distribution agreement with Theater Sports Network. Now, I want to ask you, fair or foul, you think this is something that could catch on, going to a movie theater to watch some college ball? ACC football, baby.
I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I'm going to go fair. I'm going to say yes. Now, I don't know all the particulars, but are people allowed to drink at this thing?
Have to be. There's no way that you can't, like.
I mean, it's kind of like going. It's kind of like going to a watch party. It'd be a smaller watch party instead of going to the Q or whatever.
And I'm sure you get that stadium sound. It definitely is an atmosphere that's probably one-upping what you're going to get in your basic living room.
I guess my only concern would be if it's ESPN, and that means if they're letting this happen, then they're going to have nobody left as far as talent because they're going to have to cut somebody's salary or somebody's salaries because that's what they do. I don't know about ACC like regular season football, but if you're telling me like my team's in a bowl game or a New Year's Six game, and I can go watch them on a movie theater with other fans and whatever, yeah, I'd do it, considering, obviously depending on the circumstances and whatnot. Yeah, I'd do it.
If I was invited, I'd probably go to a bowl game. Now, a regular season, you're right, ACC, like, I figure that has to be a regional sort of ordeal. Like, you try that in Cleveland or Columbus, that's probably not going to get a big turnout.
Yeah, I don't know why you would do regular season, because people are going to – no, that's not going to be high on the agenda. But, again, if it's a big game, think of it as, like I said, a watch party at a stadium or now you get a movie theater, a little bit more quaint, and if you're allowed to drink and all that good stuff, and responsibly, of course, then, yeah, that's interesting. I didn't – where'd you see that at?
This was a tweet that I saw courtesy of an ACC reporter.
You gotta love ESPN. I swear to God, like they lay people off like 50 people a week, and now they're looking at bringing in big games to movie theaters to only ESPN would do that.
This is courtesy of reporter Matt Fortuna. Fortuna.
Okay, I've heard of him.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of Josh Rosen other than the quarterback, but I've heard of Matt Fortuna.
Yeah, I always mix him up with the local Cleveland personality. That last name, it's very close.
It is very close.
Yeah, but I'll leave that one there. All right, so sticking with college ball, though, I think this is pretty funny. I didn't know that there was like an actual name for this matchup, Chico, but the Miami Redhawks taking on the Miami Hurricanes is known as the Confusion Bowl. What I feel like, it kind of speaks for itself. This is a two-parter because I want to ask you first off, do you like the name Confusion Bowl for Miami versus Miami? Fair or foul?
First of all, I'm going to go foul. How long, did somebody just come up with when you
It's on the Wikipedia page.
Oh, well, I stand corrected. But I've never heard it referred to as the Confusion Bowl.
Well, how often do they really play? Come on.
Yeah, here's what I did hear, and I loved it, actually, from a content standpoint.
The quarterback?
Yeah,
that was my second part.
The kid from Miami of Ohio
saying... So you think that those comments were fair?
Well, no. I'm going to say that I applaud him for having the intestinal fortitude, we'll call it.
Cojones.
To call out the Hurricanes and say we're going to show them who the real Miami is because, I know Miami's been down for a while, but wow. And that he could take a beating.
Yeah, you know what, Chico? I love that he said it, but I wish that he didn't because it's bulletin board material for the U, and I think that it's more than likely going to come back to bite them.
Yes. Yes, it will.
Yeah, and so in that regard, I hate to see it. But I want to go back to the NFL now, Chico, because yesterday we mentioned the Cardinals quarterback situation, trying to maintain that competitive advantage by not announcing their starting quarterback. Well, thanks to Adam Schefter, that competitive advantage is no more, as it has been revealed to us that Josh Dobbs, former Cleveland Browns quarterback, traded to Arizona just days prior, is slated to be the starting quarterback of the Arizona Cardinals in Week 1. Fair or foul, Chico? He's in for a rude awakening.
I love how you thought about the question while it's going. You're like, fair or foul, Chico?
I had the setup. I had it all down. Just I didn't actually have a question.
Sure. Fair or foul? What was it again? What did you have?
Mr. Dobbs is in for a rude awakening in Week 1.
Yeah, it's not. Of course he is. I think. And here's the thing: you're happy. Josh Dobbs is happy because he's a starter in the NFL, right? But then at the same time, that's wow. They've got the Commanders in Week 1, which means Chase Young and company. They've got a great front line. Cardinals are really, really bad. He could be in for a long, long day. I don't know. If you're Josh Dobbs, it wasn't that long ago that we saw him up here because he's an aeronautical engineer. This dude really can be considered a rocket scientist. He's that smart, out of Tennessee and drafted by Pitt. Dobbs was up here looking at flying lessons. He wanted to go, fly and stuff on his off days or whatever.
That's
and now all of a sudden, a week later, he finds himself in Arizona aboard an absolute nightmare in the Cardinals, and he's got the starting gig, which, again, there's only 32 starting quarterbacks in the National Football League, Josh Dobbs. You're one of them. That's the good news. The bad news is you might die. Because they're that bad. So, wow, that team, as bad as I think the Colts are going to be, how are the Cardinals going to win a game? Wow. Kyler Murray's on the PUP list. They're not that's the other thing. Are you really rushing him back if you're the Cardinals? They have made it very clear without making it very clear that they're tanking for the number 1 pick, right? Okay. So if Kyler Murray gives them the best chance to win, and let's say he wants to come back, oh man, what a mess. What a mess. Because they want the number 1 pick. And oh, by the way, they get Houston's pick too. What if they have the top 2 picks? And they go Williams followed by Marvin Harrison Jr.
I would become that Cardinals would probably be my second team. No, I don't know about that.
No.
That's too far. But I was thinking of
All because of
No. I was wrong. I was thinking of an Ohio State quarterback and Harrison teamed up, but Caleb Williams. Yeah. Space Cadet.
See what I deal with?
Space Cadet over here. But no, I don't think that C.J. Stroud is going to be that bad that the Texans are going to wind up with the number 2 pick. Now,
but if C.J. Stroud didn't play for the Texans, you would lend credence to that idea. It's just that
it depends who their quarterback was. If they had Bryce Young, I don't think he's going to be that bad.
By the way, I just saw that the Texans cut Desmond King, the DB out of Iowa, and the Steelers are going to pick him up.
I like that move for Pittsburgh.
And I hate it because obviously being a Browns fan,
yeah.
I think they're going to turn him into that guy was pretty damn, he's undersized. He was pretty damn good at Iowa.
That feels like a great move for Pittsburgh.
Anyway,
all right. Well, commencing fourth, Chico.
Yes, Bo.
Because I want to talk a little, not exactly NBA, but kind of NBA, because it pertains to Ice Cube's Big Three, in which it will be featuring its first NBA player, active NBA player, in the league, as Jaylen Brown, Boston Celtics player, will be participating in the Big Three tournament this year. Fair or foul, Chico, this could be a growing trend where more active NBA players would play in the Big Three tournament.
All right, I'm just going to admit I don't know what the Big Three tournament is.
Oh, really?
No, I have no idea.
It's 3-on-3 basketball. Ice Cube is basically like the commish. He kind of founded the league.
So it's like a Gus Macker thing?
I don't know who that is.
Well, we're going places here.
We are at an airport after
How
all.
long has Ice Cube had this 3-on-3 league?
It's been going on for a handful of years, Chico. At least like 4 to 5.
Let's think about this. Is it in his? If I'm the Boston Celtics, when does this 3-on-3 tournament take place?
It is during the NBA offseason. So I think it's happening soon.
But they just made. You are aware what the Boston Celtics just gave as far as a contract and money to Jaylen Brown, right?
Yeah.
There is no way on God's green earth that Boston's going to give him the green light to play it. Imagine he blows out his knee in a 3-on-3 but it was for Ice Cube. Well, great. This is the NBA, dude.
I mean, players get permission to play in the Olympics, though. I
Yeah.
understand that it's different.
I mean, I love Ice Cube. Friday's one of my favorite movies, all-time favorite movies. But no, foul. I want to read up on this now because I can't believe Boston would just allow him to do that.
So
I'm not trying to be an old man here, and
he's just participating in one game. It's their All-Star game.
Okay. Yeah, then okay. Then that'd be
not as bad, but you still don't like it if you're the Celtics organization?
Well, I mean, it'd kind of be like, Miles, how they had to tell Miles, like, hey, the dunk contest and all that stuff, why don't you stop? Like, it's all in good fun. It's not, but all it takes is one. And yeah, I realize they have to live their lives. I didn't know it was just one game, one All-Star game.
That's my fault for not clarifying.
I'd still be a little nervous. Okay, that makes a little more sense. I thought this was like 3-on-3, like a round robin, 3-week tournament. I'd be like,
the tournament is longer than that.
We just gave you $400 million or whatever the hell the contract was. We'd prefer that you didn't play in a little summer league ball. Ice Cube or no Ice Cube. Smoke. Come on, man.
And that'll do it for today's Fair or Foul.
Weed is from the earth. And for me and for you. Take advantage, man. Take advantage. All right, we'll take a break.
Indo.
What?
Oh, you said this was outdo.
Just when I think we got a good transition going, we can smoothly get into the break. Boom, you just pop in there. That's okay. Connor, how are you enjoying this so far? You've made it through 1 hour, almost 1 hour of the Chico Bormann Show on Big Play. How are you enjoying this? Is this top entertainment for you? You just can't get this anywhere else, right? I mean, no. Yeah. Be honest. Have you kind of tuned us out? It's all right. No. All right. Good. We're doing something right, Boom. We're doing something.
We're
right.
maintaining attention.
He hasn't tuned us out just yet. He may have a migraine headache that he's not admitting to, but he hasn't tuned us out. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, around Major League Baseball, fans storming the field in Colorado, and specifically Ronald Acuna, the Braves. What the hell's going on? We'll talk about that and go around the league with our buddy, the former All-Star second baseman, Brett Boone. All of that and more on the way. It is the Chico Bormann Show right here on the Big Play Sports Network. All righty, welcome back. Chico Bormann Show on this Wednesday as we roll into the noon hour here at Burke Lakefront Airport, where we broadcast live each and every day, Monday through Friday, 11 to 1. Find us on Twitter, streaming live 11 to 1 at Chico Show CLE. Also on YouTube, Chico Bormann Show. If you're not a subscriber, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We appreciate it, and you'll be all set and ready to go each and every Wednesday during the baseball season. We look forward to talking to our next guest. He's a former All-Star second baseman, put up some monster numbers in Seattle. And speaking of Seattle, they just continue, and one guy in particular continues to be just scorching hot. Brett Boone joining us, host of the Brett Boone podcast. Booney, your boy Julio, and I know, I know you like him anyway, just his style and the way he plays the game, the fact now that he's playing for the Mariners, like he just continues to roll. They just continue to roll, and I'm starting to think with that pitching staff, as we talked about last week, that could be a very, very dangerous Seattle team. They get into the postseason.
They are dangerous. Wow. We've been talking about it for 3 years. How good the pitching is. The pitching is it's as good as any team. I'll put that staff against any staff in baseball. Took a while. It seems like the last 3 years, Chico, the Mariners have made a late push every year. They won 90 games 2 years ago, didn't make the playoffs. Won 90 games a year ago, did make the playoffs. And I remember I was just in Seattle for all the festivities for the All-Star break, and the big deal was, okay, Seattle hasn't hosted a All-Star game in 21 years, and the last time I was there. And it was like, yeah, but, it's great that it's back in the city and it's here at T-Mobile Park. But, man, wouldn't it be better if the Mariners were in better standing, in a better position in the race? And at that time, they were 10 games out. Yeah, that's great. It would be great if, everything would be great. And all of a sudden, man, since July 1st, these guys have been unbelievable. I think just their recent run was 20 of 24 or something silly. Texas and Houston have been leading that division all year. And, I was thinking from an analytical standpoint, it's like, well, they're probably not going to win the division. Division's out of reach at this point, but, a wild card is a possibility. Not only have they exceeded those expectations, they're firmly in a wild card spot, but they're tied for the lead in that division.
Three-way tie in the AL.
Yeah, it helps that Texas, just recently dropped 8 in a row. Now, since they've won 3 of 4, and they're beating up on the Mets a little bit. Texas is still, Texas has been cruising all year. They've been one of the top teams in baseball, and they were going to hit a rut. They were going to hit a bump in the road, and they have. But I look at Texas rotation. That's a really good rotation too. You got Scherzer at the top. The guy they've been missing, that was probably the top Cy Young candidate until he went down, was Nathan Eovaldi. And they're waiting for him. They expected him to be back by now, but he had a little bit of a setback, I think. And they're slating him to come back the 1st of September. So you put him in behind a Scherzer, then a Montgomery, who they acquired from the St. Louis Cardinals, and with a guy who's been there all year, Gray, Heaney, Dunning. They're actually really deep when it comes to starting pitching. Their bullpen's okay. Whereas Seattle bullpen's tremendous, even though they got rid of Sewald at the trading deadline, which I don't know what they were thinking. Still a formidable bullpen, still as good as anybody in the starting rotation. When the differences come is with a Texas and a Houston from an offensive standpoint. And you know me, I always talk pitching and offense is secondary, but Texas is far superior to the Mariners as an offensive machine. Now, you mentioned Julio. He's caught fire. Maybe I've never seen anybody get that many hits in a short amount of time as Julio's been getting. He rattled off 17 hits in 4 games. I mean, he had another 4-hit games 2 nights ago. Like he's kind of out of 4-hit game card. It's unbelievable. But he's having he went from a 22-year-old kid with a huge contract with the weight of the world. And I think a lot self-imposed that Julio does. He puts a lot of pressure on himself. He wanted to have the great, the All-Star game was coming back. He wanted to be in a great position team-wise. He wanted to be having a big year, all this. He was a last-minute add to the All-Star roster. He put on a great show in the home run derby, but his team wasn't doing good. Now he's kind of put that team on his back, and everybody's kind of firing now. Teoscar Hernandez, who they got from the Toronto Blue Jays, has been driving in a ton of runs. Suarez is driving in a ton of runs. They're clicking on all cylinders. It'll be interesting. I think that all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the American West becomes the exciting division to watch down the stretch. Who's going to take it? In the end, I still think Texas is going to win that division, but all 3, I think, are going to be playoff teams, and all 3 have a chance. And I mentioned Houston as all 3. Houston, Texas, Seattle. I think they're all very formidable when it gets to this postseason. And the scary thing is you haven't heard. Everybody's quiet on Houston, right? We haven't heard much Astro talk all year. And they're just quietly doing what Houston does, just like the Dodgers. Everybody's been quiet on the Dodgers all year, and they're quietly just winning the division by double digits over there. So should be a great race.
You can have Ronald Acuna, who's pretty darn good, or Julio Rodriguez for the next 5 years. Who you got?
That is a tough. I don't think you're going to go wrong either way. All right, let's break it down. Who is the better player right now, offensively?
Acuna.
Probably Acuna Jr.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
But it seems like Julio, like
Acuna's 25.
we always talk about
Julio,
the ceiling. Yeah. Yep. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Julio's 22. Julio's a prolific base stealer, especially in today's terms of what a base stealer is. Somebody that steals 30-plus bases. It used to be 50-plus. He's getting better. I think he's got 35 stolen bases this year.
Acuna is what, 60 right now?
Only 61, which in the modern era
ridiculous.
is unheard of. You don't hear that anymore. You don't hear 60 bags in 2000 in the 2020s. Doesn't happen. Now, with the new rules this year, the 2 disengagements definitely added to those totals, and Acuna is taking complete taking advantage of the new rules.
Right.
The only place right now, and I'm not that Julio has Acuna, is Julio's a world-class Gold Glove center fielder.
Yes.
And that's a huge plus. That's a premium position. So that's the only place I take Julio over Acuna. As far as Acuna is just a little more polished in all the offensive categories than Julio. Doesn't mean Julio can't get to that point. I think he is. I mean, he's 22. And he's put his name into the MVP category. He's not going to – I mean, nobody's going to win it in the American League except for Shohei. But let's just pretend Shohei doesn't exist. Julio's in the MVP conversation right now. He's put himself into that conversation. Acuna's been in the conversation in the National League all year. It's going to be interesting, too. Acuna's got an MVP race right now. Is it going to be Acuna? Is it going to be Mookie Betts? Is it going to be a Freddie Freeman?
Boy, Mookie
both on contending teams.
Gosh.
Mookie's having an unbelievable year.
Holy mackerel.
But it's tough to argue that Acuna's not having a better year. All right, let's go. Mookie Betts. He's hitting 314. He's got 36 homers, 94 RBIs.
From the leadoff spot in that lineup.
From the leadoff spot.
I mean,
by the way, Acuna's also in the leadoff spot.
Yes, good point. Very good point.
Acuna's hitting 335. He's got 61 bags. 61. That's a big number. He's going to finish with over 70 stolen bases. Who's the last guy to do that? Betts, 10 stolen bases. They both have, all right, what's Acuna have? He's got 29 homers. Okay. Betts got 36. But Acuna's hitting 335. He's leading the league in runs, hits.
You got to give it to Acuna. I think Acuna,
on base percentage, Acuna, whatever we're calling him. Yeah. Anyway, how do we get off into this MVP category? I don't know.
No, it's all right. It's a good discussion.
I got away from your discussion. I don't know if I can choose for the next 5 years. Okay, gun to my head, I've got to choose. I need to win as many World Series as I can in the next 5 years. I'm going to take Acuna.
Okay, but it is tough. I mean, it's
tough, and Julio, huge advantage on the defensive side.
Yes,
which I it's not like me to undervalue that right now with my choice I just made with Acuna.
Right,
but I did. Acuna's just such a dynamic offensive. He just does everything.
Yep,
hits home runs at a elite level. His average is elite in a day where average isn't spoken about, and it should be, and it will come back because it's important. He drives in runs at an elite level. But the stolen bases, to me,
he's got one every night. I mean, it's just a matter of
about to steal over 70 bases.
Yeah,
in today's game, people don't do that. He's probably going to end up scoring 140 runs. Who scores 140 runs?
Ricky.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. He's got a chance to drive in 100. Probably not going to drive in 100 out of that leadoff hole. He's got 21 to go. He might. He gets hot. He might. But I'm taking. All right. Gun to my head. I'll take Acuna, but Julio's. I wouldn't be pissed if you gave me him.
We're talking to Brett Boone, former All-Star second baseman, host of the Brett Boone podcast. Always great guests coming up there, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the show. All right. Let's talk about Ronald Acuna, but let's talk about a scary moment involving Ronald Acuna. Two morons basically jump the fence and
I saw that.
and sprint to him, and wow, we just want a selfie. And now it is funny looking back on it, and you realize, okay, nothing. First of all, before I get into that, what's the closest call you had in the bigs as far as fans or anybody, kind of crossing that line into your personal space?
Can I say, I'm going to comment on the Acuna thing.
Yeah.
I thought it was really cool how he handled it.
Oh yeah,
He made an assessment in his mind. Now, I don't know that if I'm a Braves teammate or owner of the Braves, I like that Ronald handled it that way. But he made the assessment that this guy is harmless. He just wants to come out and get a handshake, get a selfie, whatever he wants to get. And he assessed that situation in his mind. Now, we never know what the heck people's motives are. So I don't think it was the soundest position to take.
Yep.
But I thought it was really cool. It was the human side. He assessed the situation. This guy's not a threat to me. He just wants to say hi and let me make his day. So I thought that was really cool. Hindsight, we can go hindsight all we want. But I thought it was cool. Now, I've had a few run-ins with guys coming on the field. I always had my guard up, like, who knows what this guy's motives are. He might love me. He might hate me. But I never had anyone like Acuna come get in my space and put their arms around me.
Wow.
The security at the major league level is pretty high.
That's what I thought too. It's kind of between the Chicago gun incident and then this. It's like what the hell? You don't want to overreact, but at the same time,
believe
it's
me,
like,
as a player, you feel pretty safe.
Okay.
These guys are great. The only funny thing you talk about anything I had to do with fans or stuff like that when it came to Major League Baseball security. I had one weird encounter when I was in Atlanta, actually. And I'm driving to the ballpark, and there's a 15-car pileup, and I'm one of them. I'm one of the cars in the back. But it's not a pileup like big, huge crash, smoke, fire. It's like boom, 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 boom. We all kind of just fender bender each other. And the girl in the front is a student driver who probably panicked, slammed on the brakes, and it was just a do.
Right.
20 cars. Boom. I hit the guy in front of me, just barely bump him. So he gets out of the car. I get out of the car. I'm by myself, just going to the ballpark. And we start talking. I'm sizing him up, and he seems like a good guy. I'll never forget this. There's a female police officer. I call her over. I said, ma'am, I said, I'm Brett Boone. I'm going to the ballpark. I play for the Braves. This guy seems like a really good guy, but could you please just take a note of the situation? What happened here? It was just 20 cars. She's dealing with everything. She says, yes, Brett. She takes down all the information, his information. She assesses the damage for me. This is before cell phones, where we just click and take every picture from every angle.
I think I might know where this
but
is
something
going.
inside me told me, reach out to this woman. All right. So I'm talking to the guy I hit, and he's like, Brett, don't worry. He has no clue that I play for the Braves, anything like that. He says, don't worry about it. He said, look at my car. He said, this is a $10,000 car. You scratched the bumper. He said, it's no big deal. I said, here's the deal. I said, just give me a call. Here's and I had a home phone number. I said, here's my home phone. Give me a call if there's a situation. I figure he's going to call me. It's going to be $200. So time goes by. And one night I'm laying in bed with my wife. And this is back when you remember when you had the tape recorder when somebody called?
Answering machine. Yep. Oh,
hey,
yeah.
Thank you for calling. And it's the middle of the night, and it's after a game. I'm in bed, and I hear the phone ring, and we're not going to answer the phone. It's like, let's say it's midnight.
Okay.
And beep. And you can hear in the kitchen his whole conversation. And it's this drunk guy going, Brett Boone, I saw you go deep tonight. This is so-and-so. We had a fender bender the other day on the whatever freeway. And I'm like, oh, no, here we go. Next thing I know, he's calling me threatening me, telling me
Threatening you.
his car is totaled. No, threatening me, not physically.
Oh, okay.
Threatening me with a lawsuit, and my car is totaled, and this and that.
His neck
I said,
hurts.
car. So what do? I reach out to MLB security, and they have an FBI agent in each city that is strictly takes care of the players in that city.
Wow.
And I called him. I gave him all the information. He goes, I'll have this conversation with this gentleman. Tell you what, he went out to that guy's house, had a conversation. I never got another phone call. I never got nothing. I never got a bill. I never got anything. So that's my only close call, which made me question my judgment, because I'm sitting there at the scene of the wreck going, this is a good guy. He's doing the right thing. Obviously, it's a bump. And next thing you know, it's
So
apparently what he did is he took a sledgehammer to his car and he just banged it all up, which
What an idiot.
for those of you out there that don't know, insurance fraud is a big deal. These insurance assessors that go out, they do not mess around.
No.
And if they feel as if you're trying to defraud them,
Well,
you're
I mean,
in big
did
trouble.
the guy forget that there was a police officer? It wasn't like your word versus his word. There was a police officer
it
on
was
site.
weird. I mean, he was this upstanding, nice young man, and well spoken, and just seemed like a normal,
Wow.
rational minded. And next thing you know, he finds out that I'm on the Atlanta Braves, and now he's drunk one night, and somebody puts this great idea into his mind. So he starts by leaving me a message. Then he wouldn't stop calling my house.
Oh, yeah.
So it was one of those deals where, you try to give people the benefit of the doubt. You try to. And most of the time your instinct is right. When we go about our lives, usually your instinct's right. Like that guy's a good guy. Be careful with that. Usually your instincts are right, but once in a while, people disappoint, and that guy disappointed because I liked him.
Yeah.
And if he would have called me and said, Booney, can you just, it's $425 for this fender, I'd have written him a check and be done. Hey, thanks for being cool about it, taking care of it the way we're supposed to. But no, he's going to go on to full wreck my car, and I need a new car. Oh, he told me too. He said, oh, and I need rent a car for the next 2 or 3 weeks because I've got to shop for a new car.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So that's my only real scary. I say scary. Give me a break.
But you never had anything
scary.
like on the field of play.
No,
Like, I mean, you're
nothing like a Kuna. I've had people run on the field.
Right, but not near you. You're playing
Sometimes start heading towards me, and it's usually, if it was in Seattle, it was Booney. It was a guy that he was just a fan that, they passed the hat in the stands, and he got $1,000 if he ran onto the field. And he didn't mean any harm, but I would keep my distance if he was running towards me. And usually he's zigzagging at this point, and he's looking to see where security is going to tackle him. So nobody ever got close to me where I felt threatened in any manner.
Okay. One last thing I want to ask you. We were talking about the teams getting hot at the right time, and sometimes I think, as fans, media, whatever, we talk a lot about, they got hot at the right time and they ended September. Is a lot of that stuff overblown, or is there something to, like, what? The last few weeks we just got on a heater and we carried it right into the postseason, or is that stuff kind of overrated?
No, I think it's underrated.
Okay.
I think hot at the right time is, first of all, you all have to be there's got to be a certain level of talent on the team you're playing.
Right.
But if all being equal, or you qualify as, hey, they're a pretty good team, and they get hot, anything can happen. I mean, that's how pitchers pitch hitters. That's how we defend hitters. I can just go to the sheet, and I'm going to go old school on you, but 20 years ago, I'm going to go to USA Today, and I'm basically going to search around for who's hot and who's not. And that's how the pitchers are going to pitch them. Who's hot is am I going to pitch around you right now? Doesn't matter what I've done in the past. But you're 10 for your last 15. I don't want to mess with this guy. Same with teams.
Okay.
And I think definitely in this era, Chico, what we've seen with the new playoff format, it's definitely, it's not always, in 2023, the World Series champion is not necessarily the best team out there. It's who got hot at the right time. And because so many people now get to the postseason, and I would be cautious, and I think they're going to be ready for it. But this Braves team is far and away the best team in baseball. They just are, top to bottom, defense, offense, pitching, bullpen, everything. Atlanta Braves are the best team, barring injury. But they've had a commanding lead in that division for a long time now. I've been on a team like that.
Yeah, where you get.
I was on that team. Where we won at a little bigger clip than the Braves are winning at. I won 116 games and thought it was over. You just give me the trophy and we'll play the games later. And that's not necessarily the case. Dodgers of a year ago found that out. 111 wins and were left holding the bag to an 89 win San Diego Padre team that got hot at the right time.
Who's coming up on the podcast, bud?
We've got a few good ones. We got Jenny Finch, Miguel Tejada, and we got Curt Schilling next week, and an oldie but goodie. I like talking to this guy. He's a little bit of a talk now with that late ballot Hall of Fame, Bobby Grich.
Okay.
So a fellow second baseman from Great Angel, Oriole. I'm looking forward to that one. But the Finch one today, I'm looking forward to that, getting into Jenny's life and what's it like being the face of pretty much women's softball for the last 20 years. So a lot of good ones coming up, Chief.
Are you going to – now I know you avoid a lot, like, we're not sitting here talking
Oh, you're talking about the I know.
Curt Schilling. You going to talk politics? Because he's going to want to go that route.
On my show, as you know, I don't like to bring politics into the mix, just because I just think it's so polarizing, and I like a feel-good show. I want people to come out entertained and not get out of the news cycle where that's all we hear about on TV and on social media. So I try to stay away from it. But if he goes there, I'm not gonna.
Content.
Yeah, what I like, Chico, what I like is I don't like. Man, Curt Schilling was such a great pitcher. And what I'm interested with Curt, I want to talk to him about when I faced him in Philly as a kid, when he was a top right-handed pitcher in the game. But when he went to the Diamondbacks and he came up with that split finger, he became elite to me.
I think he should be in the Hall of Fame. I absolutely think he should be in the Hall of Fame.
I'm on the fence.
Ooh.
But I'll tell you,
postseason.
when he came up with that split, and he was late in Boston and in with the Diamondbacks, he was a Hall of Fame pitcher. I mean, he was a different guy. He was always really good, but he came up with that split. He got to another level. Was it enough? I'm not saying he's not a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Also, another interesting note, Chico.
Yeah.
Ray Boone drafted and signed Curt Schilling. That will be interesting.
Grandpa Ray. Really?
He signed Curt Schilling. And you know what? The reason Curt got – because Curt and I really don't know each other. Never played together, played against each other for a lot of years. The thing that got me about Curt Schilling that really showed me a lot is Grandpa passed away in 2004. We had it wasn't a funeral. It was a kind of a celebration of life. It was after the fact.
Right.
There's a gathering down in San Diego area where Gramps was born, raised, lived his whole life. And unannounced, Curt Schilling showed up. Guy of a car, sat there, paid his condolences and left. Said hi to the family. I thought that was a big time class act. And
nice.
Didn't make a big deal, didn't call and say I'd like to come. He just showed up.
Now, Curt, I would think Curt,
really
because he didn't he wasn't a top prospect by any means. Obviously, that would have been a fine for Grandpa Ray. Am I right? Like, Schilling was just kind of pudgy, overweight. I mean, obviously he had an arm or nobody would be looking at him, period.
Well, I never got into it with Gramps, but he always say, Curt Schilling, he's a good one. He's a good one. Of course, Gramps, you signed him, but he ended up being a great, great pitcher for a lot of years.
Yep.
I don't know. On the politics thing, we'll see. He was such a phenomenal pitcher and player.
Yeah.
And the fact that now he's known more for his politics, I think is a disservice. No, this guy was a great pitcher.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
We'll see
To
what happens.
answer your question, that just took me a half hour to answer.
That's all right,
We'll
buddy.
see. We'll see.
And that's how you keep them waiting and guessing and the tease. Look at you.
Oh,
I mean,
look at
you're
me.
a
I'm
grizzled veteran
I'm
now
a-
in this
I'm
business.
a pro. Hey, don't forget to click on and subscribe and to leave a note on the Boone podcast, best podcast out there. Don't forget to click and subscribe.
Tell Jenny.
See, I still can't do that, Chico. I still am a fake salesman. It's
That's
like,
okay. You don't
my
really
pitch
have to
is
be.
listen to the podcast. It's great. If you don't like it, don't listen again.
But see,
But by the way, click and subscribe.
in your position, you can kind of get away with just, hi, my name's Brett. I'm a former pro player, as Dan Levy would say.
Pro.
Anyway, tell Jenny we said hello, will you? She doesn't know
I
who we
will.
are, but you know. Thanks, Booney.
All right, guys. Thanks.
All right, buddy. That's Brett Boone.
Hey, Boom.
How
How you doing, Boom? We haven't touched base today.
I'm good. You know, I just enjoying all the story times and soaking in the interview.
He likes story
right.
time with Uncle Booney. Yeah.
I do.
Hey, Boom.
Oh.
Yeah.
When you get a moment, make sure you go to the Boone podcast, click and subscribe. And you might want to leave a note how much you've enjoyed it.
You got it, Booney.
You,
5. Oh, and by the way, if you have time to, click on that 5-star rating.
Booney, you all through here? You want to?
How am I doing, Chico?
Booney, actually, it's very. How much time do you have before Jenny Finch's? You got to interview Jenny Finch.
A couple hours. I'm gonna go to the gym.
Oh, look at you. Give us a
No, thanks.
pose. Give us a bicep. Come on.
No.
No,
Come on.
no.
I don't like to make others. at my age
No,
feel-
you definitely don't
feel
do
bad.
that. No. All right. Well, Booney, we appreciate the time as always. You go get swole, as the kids say,
You
and
got
be looking for your Jenny Finch interview and Kurt Schilling and all those other great ones. Thank you, buddy.
See you guys.
All right. That is I almost said Kurt Schilling. That is Brett Boone. That is going to be interesting because Schilling is what I can't tell about Kurt Schilling is now he's put some of it is deserved because he's done it to himself as far as he's outspoken with his politics. You don't have to be. You can have your opinions and just keep them to yourself for the most part. He's one of those that says, no, just because I played professional sports and I was a great pitcher doesn't mean I'm not going to. So now, I don't think, like Booney, I agree. I don't care what his political preferences are or is or any of that. I think he's a Hall of Fame pitcher. But he definitely is one that now, like, that's you can't have a conversation about Kurt Schilling that is just specific to baseball because he does and has talked a lot of politics and he gets behind certain people and I don't know. It's one of those things. All right, we will take a break. When we come back, we've got some I want to circle back to the Browns a little bit. Again, practice squad is forming as we speak. Some news out of Cincinnati. I won't say I will say an odd exchange between Zach Taylor, their head coach, and a media member in regards to the status for Joe Burrow, which, just in case you forgot, he is set to face the Browns in Week 1 here in Cleveland on September the 10th. We'll talk about that when we come back. Chico Bormann Show, final half hour on the way right here on the Big Play Sports Network. Alrighty, welcome back as we roll through it on this Wednesday edition of the Chico Bormann Show. By the way, coming up tomorrow, we've got the air show coming up this weekend, all this weekend, Labor Day weekend. And you may remember we talked to not Kim Stroud, not CJ's mom, but Kim Dell, who is the executive director of the air show. Tomorrow, we could be looking at one of the pilots, maybe a parachutist, maybe both. Who knows? You never know what to expect today. You know, we always like to they always like to keep us on our toes. Today we had an audio engineer in here working on. So I mean, it's just, you never know what you're going to find here at the Chico.
Now, what I do expect to find is you asking to go up in one of those planes.
I'm going to, but I already know the answer is no. But
you got to do your due diligence, much like a front office GM.
And do you think it's one of those things where I absolutely ask on air to put like a little more pressure, like really try, because I know it's, but like my buddy just said yesterday, he goes, it was like surprise, you sign a waiver, and I'm like, well, I don't know if it's that. I mean, I'm sure I have to sign something, but I really, and I know this is not I'm not like one of those guys that, give me the hottest damn sauce around. I'm probably going to throw up if I go up with one of these guys. But how can you not, like, I can't not ask. You're right, Bohm. There's no way.
It certainly would be an experience.
Yes, Bohm. Yes, Bohm. It would be an experience. Thank you for elaborating on that a bit. By the way, real quick before we get into some comments, you mentioned yesterday we had Eric Casilius on the show. EK, we got into a lot of good fantasy stuff, fantasy football, and I've had one draft. I've got two coming up on Sunday, and I mean everybody. This week and next week are big draft weeks. So you have a draft tonight. You also have to work tonight. Now, you're in a job where you can probably get it done. It's online, the draft, obviously.
Yeah. I'm sorry that I'm missing the group video chat, though. It's with a bunch of old fraternity brothers. So that's the one downside. It's like
Yeah, you know what, though? Knowing you, Bohm, that's probably a good thing. This will keep you a little more focused. Because if you had to, this is a pretty big, this is a big swingers league, right? This league that you're in?
Yeah, this is my most costly league.
Okay. Do we know what you said, 9 or 10? Do you know for sure yet?
No, I'll find out when I open up the draft tonight. You know.
How can you not? I mean,
it doesn't bother me that much because I don't know how it's going to shake out. I just know that I'm going to go in with my strategy and I'm going to take the best player on the board based on said strategy. And I'm going with the flow, baby. I'm just riding the wave where it takes me.
You don't have the slightest clue, do you?
I do really well with fantasy drafts. I don't know what it is. I do really well in fantasy drafts.
Okay, so have you won that league yet?
Well, considering last year was my first year in this league, no. But I've won the other league that I'm in twice. So I'm not...
Can I get in that league that you won twice?
You probably would do pretty well. I'm not going to lie.
No, that's good, though. So you're going to be able to there's not one guy you're fixated on, or are you? Like for instance, there are some people that would say 10 or 12 team league, by the way.
12.
Okay. There are some people that would say, God, I hope Travis Kelce makes it to me at 9.
See, and that's like we heard EK yesterday, and that would be, I guess, the strategy. If I can't get the number one receiver, whether it be Jamar Chase, if I can't walk away with Jamar Chase, and I probably won't that late in the first round, I'm going to try to come away with Travis Kelce. Now, the one thing I didn't ask EK that I kind of wish I did
So you wouldn't even take Justin Jefferson if he was available at 9?
I'd have to consider it, obviously.
Boom. I already know that I want.
You think Jefferson over Kelce? Because
I'm
obviously
no. I mean, you're basically saying you basically said if I can't get Jamar Chase, like, did you feel that way before?
Jefferson versus Kelce is the one that I was weighing in my mind.
Did you think? Hang on a second. Wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Did you, until we heard from EK yesterday, because EK was adamant that he thinks Jamar Chase is the best, and that's fine. I mean, it's not necessarily a popular opinion, but it is an opinion and an informed one. I get the feeling now that you've just completely, like, did you feel that way about Chase before yesterday or no?
No, I would have probably picked Justin Jefferson as the number one wide receiver.
Right. So now you're like kind of just, you've completely moved off of Jefferson.
No, not completely. It's those are the big three for me. Where if I could walk away with one of them in round one, I'm happy.
Yeah, the first. I mean, Chase and Jefferson. There's no way in hell you're getting those at 9.
I didn't think so. So I'm hoping to walk away with Kelsey.
Yeah. Man. Clevelanders in this league?
A lot of New Yorkers. Yeah.
I'm going to say you don't get any of those 3. But that's still good, though.
Who are you eyeing in the first round if those 3 are not an option? Tyreek Hill? Cooper Kupp?
Tyreek Hill. I'll be honest with you. I'm a little nervous about Cooper Kupp this year. And he's a guy that I've had previous years, and I've loved him.
Mm-hmm. He's been great.
He had that ankle surgery. And I mean, sometimes I know it's cliche, but like, well, it's a game of inches, and it's just a little bit. If he doesn't have the same explosion, then that can mean the difference between him being a round 1 top 5 receiver and a round 3.
I also don't feel great about the Rams as a whole.
Yeah, Matthew Stafford saying his wife coming.
I almost asked that on Fair or Foul.
Why does Stafford's wife feel like she needs to come out and say, yeah, he hasn't really been gelling with the wide receivers? Like, I mean, you don't want to hear that from your quarterback, period, but I don't know if the way I want to hear it is from the quarterback's wife.
Do you think he's so desperate that he turned to her to leak it?
I don't know, but it could be. That was very, very odd. Very odd.
Yeah.
And I like Stafford. I've always been a Stafford guy, but that's weird.
Peculiar situation brewing.
Peculiar situation. Here's what I would say. I think Tyreek Hill's probably going to be gone. I would be looking in the neighborhood of, and you're not going to go, you don't want to go running back, even if like Austin Eckler or Bijan Robinson, because that one of those guys might be staring you in the face at 9.
I know, Chico, but I like what EK's points were about.
You were persuaded. I could tell you were persuaded.
I was very much persuaded because I was always kind of on the fence about it, and it is a PPR league, right? So I think wide receiver just carries, it's a growing value in fantasy football, where I think we're seeing, and it's being reflected in how contracts are being divvied up, we're seeing diminished roles out of running backs. We're seeing their carries split up amongst other running backs and running back by committee. So I really like the idea of coming away with the 3 best receivers you can get to start things off.
Okay, here's what I would say. I think Stephon Diggs, now that things are, I grabbed him, I think, at the 9th spot in mine over the weekend. I think Stephon Diggs is going to have a big year. I mean, he always does, but I'm not really that nervous about the off-field stuff. Kupp, I'm a little bit nervous about. See, I think what you're going to run into is I think you're going to find that one of these big-time running backs is going to be staring you in the face, including your boy, Nick Chubb. What if Nick Chubb is there?
Carries are going to be too split up. I mean...
Well, but see, some would say that they won't be because, yeah, I wouldn't take him at 9. And I love Nick Chubb, but I wouldn't take him.
Let me ask you this, because I know I'm going to be faced with this dilemma, Chico. If those 3 receivers are gone and I'm staring Garrett Wilson in the face, is Garrett Wilson a first rounder?
Here's the thing, Bohm. If you take him, here's the way I would think about that. You're coming back around, then you've got what pick? If pick 9, you're pick.
You only have like 3 or 4 picks before you're back up or something. 10, maybe 11, 6 picks.
Yeah. Okay. If you really want Garrett Wilson and those guys are gone, take him at 9. He could have a monster year. I mean, he's borderline wide receiver 1, like 2 in terms of like he's not maybe on the first tier with those guys, but he could be after this year. And my feeling is always, like, I wouldn't pass on Tyreek Hill for him. I wouldn't pass on Justin Jefferson or Travis Kelce. But
sure,
then that next tier, if that's the guy you really want and you're deciding between, like, say, him and Stephon Diggs or Amon-Ra St. Brown or, one of those guys, if Garrett Wilson's really the guy you want, I mean, he had a great year last year and he played with crap at quarterback.
Yeah, you throw Rodgers in the mix.
If you really want him at 9, take him.
And this is, mind you, a league of all Ohio State grads. So that Buckeye bias will be prevalent.
So then you might not get him coming
back.
back.
It to the next, to my
Somebody would take him at the turn before you did.
Yeah, more than likely.
I would take him at 9. That's what I would do.
I appreciate the advice, Chico.
You're welcome. Anything I can do.
I always try to keep an open mind with fantasy. I'm open to any advice.
I just hope I don't steer you in the wrong direction.
I hope so too.
I tried to help you last year, but it was late. It was well after your I think you needed help with the waiver wire.
I needed help with the trade. This person was like trying to acquire Stephon Diggs from me, right?
That's what it was.
You know what? That trade blew up in their face because Stephon Diggs fell off at the end of last season.
Yeah,
and
that's when all the drama started.
I got AJ Brown in that deal, and he took off. So like, I think on paper I lost that trade, but I wound up winning that trade. I'm pretty proud of it. So I appreciate the assist on that one as well.
It makes me so happy. All right, let me get to this quickly because it involves a guy like Jamar Chase and the Bengals. Bengals-Browns open up the season September 10th, Cleveland Brown Stadium. Just a stone's throw away from us here at Burke Lakefront Airport. I admit that when the injury first happened and even a week after it happened, I was saying, I don't think Burrow's going to play week 1. I still have some reservations, but I also have to be honest and say that percentage has gone up and up and up in terms of him playing. I still think that they're going to be extremely cautious. Now, if he goes through this week, and obviously we get to next week and practice, and now you're talking game week, and he's moving fine and he has no setbacks, then yes, I absolutely believe 100% he's your starting quarterback. But I think they are trying to be careful. But this was we're going to have to get James Rapine on this. So yesterday, Taylor spoke to reporters after the 4 p.m. deadline when he got down to 53 players. He was non-committal when asked if Burrow will return to practice this week. He said, we'll see. That's just didn't say anything about, the game on September the 10th. Practice. We're talking about practice. He said, we'll see as far as practice this week. Fifth-year coach also declined to give a more elaborate update on Burrow's prognosis since he suffered the injury on July 27th. This was just really, he said, how is he health-wise? And he goes, I believe he has a healthy body. and the reporter's like, okay, don't be a smartass, right? Like, are you telling me, what do you want to know? And the guy's like, is he healthy? I think he has a healthy body, yes. How's the calf? Well, we'll find out. Basically is what he's saying. Now they
good calves.
They waived Trevor Siemian, which is interesting because that was all the talk is like, man, Jake Browning would be the starting quarterback.
Pride of Washington.
He says Browning appears to be solidified as the backup. But I don't know. Burrow's, barring something unforeseen, they're just being very careful, and they should. Barring something unforeseen, Joe Burrow will be the starting quarterback week 1. And I don't think that's, I thought otherwise. I'm still there's like an 8% chance that Zach Taylor they're a little bit nervous because if he doesn't practice the rest of this week, and even he has to practice next week, obviously, because that's game week. He doesn't practice next week, he's not playing. But yeah, Taylor said with a smirk, I think he has a very healthy body, and I'm encouraged by that. Oh, boy. It wasn't that long ago that the Bengals were not good. Taylor was on the hot seat. Taylor couldn't afford to be a smartass with anybody. Now he's smirking at reporters and saying, I think he has a very healthy body.
He's got his quarterback, Chico. It's a very reassuring feeling.
Yes, he absolutely does. All right, Browns, speaking of the quarterback room, do you think the Browns go into week 1? Are they content with DTR being the number 2 quarterback? And again, not saying he's going to be – this kid's very talented, Dorian Thompson-Robinson. He's a guy that has looked great in the preseason, but I'm saying the Browns are 100% content and okay with, God forbid, Deshaun Watson goes down, sending a 5th-round rookie out of UCLA into play quarterback.
Now, let me ask you this firstly, Chico. After that final preseason game, did you leave it feeling better, worse, or the same about DTR? In terms of your level of confidence that he could be at the helm if something were to happen to Deshaun?
He didn't put it this way. That's a good question because he didn't necessarily have the same – Like, remember we were talking about the Hall of Fame game, which seems like 5 years ago, but the Hall of Fame game and then the preseason game after that, where it was like the offense just seemed to move quicker with him, and there was a spark. I would say that necessarily wasn't as prominent the last two games, the last game as it was before, but there's a variety of reasons why that could be. I would say I say this all the time, there's no quarterback that's ready, rookie quarterback, that's ready to go in the National Football League. It's just, how are they okay to not just get completely annihilated? Because the jump is night and day. And at that position, I mean, I don't have to tell anybody. It's why they say it's the most important position in sports and all that. If you're a rookie and you're that green, even though you had a great preseason, even though you had a great career and a long career at UCLA, Bohm, are you assisting our boy Connor over here?
He's got a long reach. I'm just trying to nudge it a little bit closer, make it less of a reach for him.
For those just tuning in, we've had obviously here we've got our guys working on the audio portion of things, and Connor, and this is speaking of game day, September the 10th. This is going to be the place to be. This setup, when it's all said and done, is going to be phenomenal. And at some point, Bohm, we're going to have to say during the party, during the broadcast, shout out to Connor, who was in here, is in here right now, but at that time would be in here, just splitting wires and doing all the stuff, all the grunt work that allows there he is, he's holding up a bunch of wires, that allows everybody to enjoy the game day experience, which is going to be phenomenal coming up September.
I can honestly say we couldn't have done it without him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, there's no two ways about that. So anyway, now is Connor going to be scarred from the experience of having to work?
From what I understand, he's had taller tasks to climb over
than being here in studio with a live show, and not just any live show, this live show. Because you and I can go off the rails. We're kind of off the rails right now, to be honest.
Barely maintaining combobulation at the moment. And there it goes.
See, if I never asked that question, you would never say that. I simply said I've always heard people say discombobulated, but I've never heard anybody say combobulated. Like, wow, he seems to be very combobulated. It's always, my gosh, he's just so discombobulated. The whole situation is discombobulated.
I love picking nits with words like that. It's just it's a beautiful thing.
You're something
language.
Else. You're something else. All right. So coming up tomorrow, we've got we're going to be talking. Hopefully some folks from the air show. A week from tomorrow, we got the National Football League for real, Kansas City and Detroit. Bohm, I will need a full report on your fantasy football draft, which you will be doing while you're working, but that's okay. I mean, we're giving you the green light for that. And no, I think it's interesting. You don't really, other than Kelsey, I mean, figuring Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson are going to be gone, and they will. And I think Kelsey will too. Other than Kelsey, you don't really have your eye on anybody. I think Garrett Wilson would. I think that's
my consolation prize right
that's going to be your 9. I'm going to say that even if Kelsey is on the board, this will be
I would be tempted.
My bold prediction is that even if Kelsey is on the board at 9, Bohm will get that itchy trigger finger, and he'll say, because I think he knows that Garrett Wilson will not be around at, what would that be, like 15 or 16?
Yeah, something like that.
Coming back around in the second round, I think you take Garrett Wilson. I think you got your mind made up that your first round pick is Garrett Wilson, and
we'll see. As long as I can wind up with Chris Olave and keep the Olave Garden tradition going, we'll be good.
Didn't I give you that name?
You did.
I try to help out as much as I can, Bohm.
And you do.
All right.
I do. I love that name.
That is pretty good. The Olave Garden. Yeah.
I used to love Olive Garden.
Yeah. Why don't we go as a show? We'll go to the Olave.
Go to the OG?
Connor, you're invited. He's like, no, just get me out of here for God's sake. Yeah, Connor, you're invited to a show night out at the Olave Garden. Yeah,
let's do it. I would love that.
All right. Connor's in agreement. All right. Thanks to Brett Boone for joining us in the first hour, I should say in the second hour there at noon, going around Major League Baseball. Interesting stuff, interesting races going on, even though the Guardians are out of it, really. A lot of interesting races going on, a lot of teams that are red hot, including the Mariners, among others. But we'll be talking much more NFL tomorrow, much more Browns tomorrow. We're getting down to, we'll have a very good idea of what the practice squad looks like. Do guys like Jalen Darden, do they make their way back to the Browns? Demetric Felton, does somebody claim him? Does he make his way back to the Browns? Jerome Ford, does he practice again today? That was to me, that was a huge note yesterday, was that not only they cut Demetric Felton, but that Jerome Ford practiced for the first time, and I mean the first time in 4 weeks, in a month.
And how about Marquise Goodwin coming back as well?
That was awesome.
I heard an interview with him he gave with Nathan Segura. And it was, I mean, this guy is so, like, passionate about the game and full of life. And he's talking about how he is the nastiest trash talker and how he scored a touchdown on a guy after he just, like, frazzled him with some trash talk back in Kansas City. And then he burned him for a 58-yard touchdown.
I'm excited to see him I don't think you'll see him on a number of snaps, but the thing with Marquise Goodwin, the reason they signed him is he's that home run, that vertical threat. So you need him for a few snaps, and what if he hits one big? That'd be great to see as well.
You have several vertical threats on this offense now. I mean, especially between him and DPJ alone. You have some guys who could really make some plays downfield. Yeah,
DPJ's more of like he's going to go up and high point the ball. I don't know if I'd say he's like Marquise Goodwin has like.
He still makes a lot of big plays. He's the recipient of many.
But
deep balls.
He's not the burner that Marquise.
Okay, he's
Goodwin
not a burner.
is.
Sure.
Yeah. Take him in the first.
He's still
round.
a deep threat.
Take him at 9th overall, Bo.
DPJ, that would be bold. Oh, I don't think I could be that
stupid.
bold.
That would be stupid.
Yeah,
nothing against DPJ, but that would be stupid. All right, we will be back with you tomorrow. Same.
That's like something that fanboy Nick might strongly consider.
Yeah,
Amari Cooper in round 1.
Fanboy Nick would. He might take DeAndre Hopkins.
Going all in on Nick Chubb. Let's go, baby.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of who it might be. If Dobbs was still here, because he knew Dobbs would be hanging around here, I could see fanboy Nick taking with his first-round pick, Josh Dobbs. You know he's not the starter, right? I don't care.
Last pick of the fantasy draft, DTR.
All right. We will be out of here for about 24 hours, I should say. And then back at it again tomorrow
22.
At 11 a.m., and we'll be talking some air show. We'll be talking Browns, practice roster, all of that good stuff. Guardians, by the way, are in action this afternoon. It used to mean something on a Wednesday afternoon when we
Hey, how about Bo Naylor, though?
Yes.
2 for 4 going yard yesterday. He's one of the bright spots that you have looking forward.
And not just yard, but it was like big-time yard, like 430 feet yard. All right, we're out of time. Bohm, great job as always, as far as you know. Connor, great job as always. He did do a great job. And maintaining his poise while he's in here. I'm Mike Chico Bormann. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Until then, make it a great rest of your Wednesday right here on the Big Play Sports Network.